I had something wrote out, but I dropped it at the petrol station. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I want to thank you all for coming here. So somebody said to me yesterday, it's the first time in Northern Ireland we've all come together, regardless of religion, political status, and medical status. You know, we've got people from different classes. We're all standing here together for a common goal, and you know, massive respect to you all for coming. I'm going to start off here. Siobhan's going to come up and sing us a few songs, and then we've got Kim here, the Sculpted Vegans, going to start off with speeches, and we'll take it from there, okay? Thank you. Caught Siobhan off guard, she's not ready, we'll do a second. Oh, the last time I was up here too, it was a nervous wreck. It was a scared and miss at birth. My wee man, he's here today, so I'm a daddy again. I lost my speech on the way up the road there.
I just need to tune up, guys. How are you doing? Yay! Happy New Year! I'm just tuning up to 432. 432 hertz is the low frequency. Hang on now. Putting me on the spot now.
Are you alright?
See, where the hell I am? Get to this top.
Hey guys, thank you so much for showing up today. I just want to take a quick video before we start so the BBC can't say that only a couple of people turned up. Can everybody give me a wave? Yay, Belfast! Woo! Fantastic! Thanks guys. This microphone is a tiny touch high. I'm just going to turn it around. And I'm going to pick up my notes because although I am used to a bit of public speaking, some of you may know me on Instagram as the Sculpted Vegan, or may not know me, but today I'm not going to talk about bodybuilding, which is what I'm normally talking about. I'm going to talk about something else which is really close to my heart and has been for a long time, because I've been very, very vocal on Instagram and on Facebook about the fact that what is happening in the world at the minute is wrong. And honestly, when I was asked to speak here today, my initial reaction was, no fucking way. No way. I truly was thinking, I'm not going to stand up on that stage. I'm not going to have my family potentially embarrassed, because there's a lot of people have been wanting to stop me from speaking out about what's happening at the minute because quite simply they're scared. And I was going to stand up here today. Whenever I thought about standing up here today, honestly, I was scared too, because I run quite a big business. I have nearly 500,000 followers on Instagram. I have a family who think like me, thank God. Who else here has a family who is like-minded and thinks like them? Yes, my family are all over here behind me. Well, they were, they might have moved now. You won't be able, there they are there, they're jumping in the middle. So. Thank God I have the support of my family, but I have been very, very vocal on Instagram. There have been a lot of people who have wanted to stop me, but today I thought it was important that despite my fear, I stand up and I talk about what is going on today, because this is not a pandemic about a virus. This is a pandemic of fear. Yes? This is a pandemic of fear. And it got me asking the question, because whenever I was thinking about what I was going to speak about when I stood up here today, I was like, what the hell am I going to say? I'm a vegan bodybuilder, right? A vegan bodybuilder. And what the hell, what do I know? I don't really know anything about, about science or about really anything that's going on, but I do know one thing. And the one thing that I know is vaccine passports are wrong. They're wrong. This is not about a vaccine. I am actually pro-vaccination. I think vaccination is one of man's most noble concepts. But what I am, more than anything, is pro-choice. It should be my choice to inject myself with a vaccine. I should not have to live in fear of losing my human rights, my basic right to move in the world, to walk into a shop, to purchase groceries, to have a drink in a bar, because I have chosen not to inject myself with an experimental vaccine that may harm me. Yes? And so the question is, why are we afraid to speak up? Why? Because there are many, many people who are afraid to speak up. There's the small group of us who are all here who are very, very, very anti-vaccine passport. And we are here flying the flag, showing our support. And then there's the group on the other side who are actually pro-vaccine passport, and that is their right. And I would never take that away from them. But then there's this massive body of people in the middle, some of whom have been vaccinated and some of whom haven't, who don't believe in vaccine passports, but who are standing by and saying nothing. And the question is, why? Why? Well, I have a hypothesis, if you want to hear it. And it all goes back to a story that I remembered from when I was a child. So when I was young and I was in school, it was a boarding school actually, there was a teacher who shall remain nameless in case he's still alive, although it has been 30 years, so he may not be. But there was a teacher who was considered a bit of a tyrant. Now, he was mostly angry. He used to terrorize the children. He controlled a lot through shouting and through fear, and everybody was scared of him. Now, there was one particular child in the school called Christopher who had learning difficulties and who wasn't like the other children. He had much more of a difficult time. And he got bullied and picked on a lot by the other children, and he did suffer quite a lot in school, and it was painful to watch. But you could understand the other children doing it, but it was hard when the teachers did it too. And so this particular day, I remember it was coming up to actually leaving time for the day pupils, and the boarders were going to go for dinner. And you did your homework in school, in this particular school, before you left. And I remember walking past a classroom and hearing this teacher, who shall remain nameless, screaming at the top of his lungs. Screaming at the top of his lungs. And I peeked my head around the classroom door to see what was going on, and Christopher, the boy with learning difficulties, was sitting at his desk with his hand in his head, crying his heart out and wiping snot from his nose while this teacher was standing over him, screaming at him because he wasn't doing his homework correctly. And he was the only child left in the class because everyone else was going home. And I kind of stood there paralyzed for a second, not really knowing what to do and feeling desperately sorry for Christopher, when I saw the teacher lift his hand and strike him. He hit him hard across the head. And Christopher cowered in the corner, and he started to wail, and he cowered, and the teacher grabbed him and yanked him back up on the desk, sat him down on the chair, and screamed at him again to do his homework. And I was absolutely horrified. I think I was about 9 years of age. And so I knew Christopher's mum was outside in the car park waiting to pick him up. And I knew she must be wondering where he was because it was about 10 minutes past leaving time. And so I ran outside and I thought, I'm going to tell his mum what I've seen because this is not okay. And I ran outside to his mum's car and I went up to her window and I knocked on the window and she rolled down the window and she smiled at me And in that moment, a lot of things went through my head that weren't to do with telling Christopher's mum what had happened. I suddenly thought, what if I get in trouble? Hang on a second here, this teacher is a monster. What if they find out that it was me who told her? He gets in trouble and then I get in trouble. What if he makes my life hard? What if I get grounded? What if I get sent home? What if I get in trouble with my parents? All these thoughts flashed through my head in that moment that I went to tell his mother what had happened. And instead of telling her, what I said to her was, Christopher's just finishing his homework and he'll be out in a second. I just wanted to let you know. And she said, oh, thank you so much, dear. That is so lovely. And she said, thank you for letting me know. And I ran off to the dining hall for dinner and I left the ugly scene behind me. But let me tell you the point of this story. I never forgave myself for not speaking up. I saw the bad thing that was happening. I knew this teacher was a terror, but I never said anything. I didn't protect Christopher because I was too scared about what would happen to me. And had I spoken up, I probably could have saved a lot of other children from this teacher. He may have been reprimanded, he may have not, but his behavior would have at least have been called into question. Now, here's the thing. I was a child. Sorry, feedback. I was a child. I was dependent on the adults in my life. My own safety and comfort was high up my list of priorities. But I'm not a child anymore. And neither are you. And neither is the happening because they're scared for their own comfort and they're scared for their own safety. But listen, I get it. I get it. I'm not judging these people. I'm not one of the ones standing up and saying, you're bad and you're wrong and you should do this, because we were all children at one point. And it's our inner child that drives us as adults. But it's time to stop living in fear. It's time to make yourself uncomfortable, to do what is right. You are stronger than life is tough. I tell my children that every day when they're up against something that is hard, when they're scared. I say, you are stronger than life is tough. You can do uncomfortable things because you are strong. And the more you make yourself uncomfortable, the more you stand up and you say this is wrong, the more you take a stand for something, the more successful you will be in your life. Because when you are strong in one area, you carry that strength into another area and you raise your self-esteem and you open up possibilities in the world that you didn't see before. Because you make different and better choices. If I see someone being abused today, I can speak out, and I do. I make myself uncomfortable and I risk my reputation and I risk many, many other things, mostly what people think of me, which actually I realize you don't give a shit about anyway, excuse my bad language. I've been known for my potty mouth, it has to be said. And I may not succeed in making the bad thing go away, but at least my conscience will be intact. At least I will know that I tried, because bad things don't happen in the world because of the people who do them, but because of the people who stand by and say nothing. COVID passports are wrong. They are wrong. They take away your civil liberties. They move us one step closer to a social credit system such as they have in China, where they can strip you of your human rights. They can strip you of your chance to get on a bus, to book an airplane, to book a hotel. That's what happens in China. If you're not a good citizen and do what the government tell you you should do, they strip you of your rights. That is where we're headed. When you give the government control, they're not going to give it back. They're not going to say, oh great, thanks, you gave us control, now we have more control over you, but you know what, we decided we're going to give it back to you. No, it's not going to happen that way. It's not going to happen that way. They don't give it back. If you have been vaccinated, and here okay, this is, do the hard thing. If you've been vaccinated, raise your hand. Raise your hand, everybody's been vaccinated. There's no judgment here, okay? I haven't, by the way, but I'm raising my hand. If you have been vaccinated, it may be easy to think that it's not worth fighting because it doesn't affect you anyway. You have your vaccine passport. You can show it, and it's really, it's hard for those other ones, but it's okay for the vaccinated because, you don't really have to stand up for what is right because, you have your vaccine passport. And I get it. But if you give away your freedom now, you'll never get it back. We're not fighting about to vaccinate or to not vaccinate. That is a personal choice. I support your right to choose. I support your right to choose. Christopher was struck by the teacher that day because everyone was afraid to speak up against the teacher. He was allowed to abuse children because no one said anything. Final note before I finish this very long-winded speech, sorry, is that, do you know that the government are your employees? Hands up here who pays taxes. Who pays taxes? Some of you are a bit like, well, last year maybe, not so much. If you pay taxes, here's an interesting thought. The government are your employees. Your money pays their salaries. They work for us. Many people don't even think of that. They work for us. Yes, they can throw you in jail if you don't pay your taxes, but don't forget the fact that you still pay them and they work for us. So what can you do? Posting memes on social media is not enough. I'm sorry, it's not. Now you guys are here. I know I'm speaking to the converted. You're here. You made the effort. You've shown up and you're here. But you need to write letters. You need to speak to everybody about this issue. It's time to not be silent anymore. Don't just be vocal amongst friends. It's easy when you're here and you're amongst friends and like-minded people to talk about, to talk about the vaccine passports and to say that it's wrong, and it's easy to really feel safe to express your opinion, but you have to get okay with expressing your opinion where you don't feel safe, where it's not welcome. And don't try to be right. That's the worst thing you can do. Don't fight with someone. Open up a dialogue. Open up a discussion. Say your piece and then leave it. You're not trying to convince the people who aren't like you. You're trying to find the people who have doubts. The ones in the middle who aren't speaking up, who know this is wrong, but don't have an opportunity to safely voice their opinion because they're scared. Be the person who allows them to voice their opinion without fear. Be the safe space for them to speak up. Because the more people start speaking up, the more we write letters, the more we contact our MLAs, the more we write emails, the more we show up here in the centre of Belfast, the more we talk to people, the more the narrative will change. Before I finish, I just want to leave you with one of my favourite quotes that I've always stood by, and it's by a philosopher called Margaret Mead. And Margaret says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful citizens can change the world, for in fact, it's the only thing that ever has." Thank you for showing up, and thank you for allowing me to speak. Who else do you want out? How about them all? Okay, I wrote this song when I was 24.
after my mother told me about secret societies and central banks and Rothschilds taking over the world. And I re-released it last year when I was living in the States. And yeah, it's called Mumbo Jumbo, blah, blah, blah. You're killing our future and it isn't even here. Create me, I said, don't break me. Teach me, don't corrupt me, just teach me. Infiltrate their minds, catch them when they're young. Control them, you're taking us off the land. But it's alright, cause we'll get jobs in packaging. Mambo jumbo, blah blah blah. You think that we think that that means something. You're all the same to us, blah blah blah. Try to take our souls. Don't kid yourself that you have won. We have our weapons, but we won't use it for fun. You are the weapon! Leaders, use your power, you're tangled in a web of begrudgery, hypocrisy, deception and deceit, far from honesty are you. Mambo jumbo, blah blah blah. You think that we think that that means something. You're all the same to us, blah blah blah. We're the great people who didn't put the names to anything. All the anons. You stole my tune, but the thoughts are still in my head. Mambo jumbo, blah blah blah. You think that we think that that means something. You're all the same to us. I said you're all the same to us. Yeah, yeah, you're all the same to us. Blah blah blah. Mambo jumbo, blah blah blah. You think that we think that that means something. You're all the same to us. I said you're all the same to us. Yeah, yeah, you're all the same to us. Blah, blah, blah. Thank you. This is one you all know, and it's written by a girl from my hometown. Another head hangs slowly, child is slowly taken. The violence caused such silence. Who are we mistaken? But you see, it's not me, it's not my family. In your head, in your head, they are fighting. Well, their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns. In your head, they're still fighting. What's in your head? In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. What's in your head? In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. Ho, 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 ho. In your head. Louder the next time, okay? Others breaking, heart is taking over. The violence caused such silence. Who are we mistaken? It's the same old theme since 1916. Okay, this went down a treat the last time. It's a Tracy Chapman song. I saw this woman. I was doing au pair in France when I was 18, and Canal Plus was like the national TV there, and there was some amnesty festival on, and this young girl got up and sang this song, and it blew my mind. And I wrote a letter home to my father, and I said, "Dad, I think I'm going to be a singer." And every time I said to him through the years, "Oh my God, I'm just so sick of the music business. I can't get anywhere. I can't go anywhere. And can't ever break through that glass ceiling," he'd just say, "Where's that letter that you sent me from France?" Don't you know we're talking about a revolution? Sounds like a whisper. Don't you know we're talking about a revolution? Sounds like a whisper. While they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know we're talking about a revolution? It sounds like a whisper. Poor people gonna rise up and take their share. Who's gonna take their share? Poor people gonna rise up and get what's theirs. For freedom! Don't you know you better run, 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 run. Oh, I said you better run, 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 run. 'Cause finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Are the tables turning? Finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Oh, while they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know we're talking about a revolution? Sounds like a whisper. Poor people gonna rise up and take their share. Who's gonna rise up? Poor people gonna rise up and get what's theirs. Freedom is yours! I said you better run, 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 run. I said you better run, 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 run. 'Cause finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. The tables are turning. Yes, finally the tables are starting to turn. Talking about a revolution. Talking about a revolution. Talking about a revolution. What are we talking about? A revolution. A revolution in consciousness. Okay, I'm going to do one more here and maybe at the end, so we'll see. Thank you so much, guys, and here's to 2022 and a beautiful heaven on earth reality for everyone in this country.
Let's go.
25 years and my life is still trying to get up that great big hill of hope. Sing it with me. for a destination. I realized quickly when I knew I should that the world was made up for this brotherhood of man, or whatever that means. And so I cry sometimes when I lie in bed just to get it all out what's in my head, and I am feeling a little peculiar. So I wake in the morning and I step outside and I take a deep breath, I get real high and I scream at the top of my lungs, what's going on? And I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? And I said, hey. Oh my God, you're great. Praying all the time, pray and cry. In this institution, can I pray? Oh my God, you're great. I pray every single day for a revolution. And so I pray sometimes when I'm lying in bed just to get it all out what's in my head, and I am feeling a little peculiar. And so I wake in the morning and I step outside and I take a deep breath, I get real high and I scream at the top of my lungs, what's going on? Come on everyone, louder! And I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, yeah, you're very loud. What's going on? Louder! And I said, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? Now on your own, even louder. And I said, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, yeah, louder. And I said, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? I think you can get louder than that. And I said, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? Years I'm out at this school, trying to get up that great big hill of hope for destination. Thank you so much, Belfast. I'll see you in a while. Take care.
How do you follow that up? Guys, we're going to get a few speakers on here. If we could just ask the ones, if we could politely ask these guys, I know we're all here for a protest and go against the law and all, but if we could ask us just to come in a wee bit, so if the roads aren't blocked, we'll block the roads, we're going to start getting the hassle, and it's really not worth it. Outside that, we'll keep the vibes high, and I'm just wishing you all a happy new year. Let's keep this going. We're going to start off with Nicola here. Nicola runs a wee charity here in Belfast, just wants a few words, and then we'll get the other guys up. You probably recognise a few of them from the last time there. So.
Hello. Can you all hear me? Sorry, I've got a pod in here, so I can't hear you as much as you can hear me. It's just I've got to keep an eye on the phone, so if I do stop or take over the side, it's just it is the phone that I have with me. I'm on call.
Sorry. Just right back close to this one.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, that's better. My name is Nicola O'Connor. I won't be hiding my identity for anybody or anyone. If the police would take my identity, you're absolutely more than welcome. I'm the organiser of DAWG, Suicide Prevention. Through the work I do and talking to many people about the subject of COVID, which you all have to admit is the headline of every conversation for talking to first encounters. If not, it will come up somewhere in conversation. If it doesn't, you can be sure because it's two people faced with different views, but just too tired to argue today. No, I do not believe in COVID. Have I ever or will I ever wear a mask? No. I am excluded on medical grounds, but if I wasn't, no, I still wouldn't. As it's very important to make a stand for those who cannot speak up for themselves. Lost, torn, ripped, bleeding, confused, tortured, scared, lonely, cried out, self-medicated out, and at the crossroad between life and death. I had to ask, was it okay for me to speak here today? I was told as long as you make one thing clear to the people you're talking to, we love you, and I love every single one of you too, and every single person standing here in front of me, and even those that don't believe, and those that live in fear, to be allowed to believe. I was in the process of actually starting this rally myself. And believe me, there are a lot of people actually shocked that I wasn't the main organiser of it. As enough is enough, and someone had to make that first stand. So when I seen someone else had taken that step, I said, thank you, Lord, and carried on with the work I do. I do keep a close eye on here, on the rally, and a few people floating in among you all, depending on how busy I am, depends on where I can go, but I am always with you and praying for truth and peace. I can confirm we have had suicides from Christmas Day. That's not even a week. We have had suicides. We have had accidental ODs. Mental health sector is under so much pressure due to the no help. They go back to what they know on the streets, and their daily cycle starts again. Trust me, COVID would be the least you would hope to catch in some of the places we leave our youth and homeless to sleep and with no cover. I actually took an hour down the city centre here and I patrolled our areas, and it's actually sickening and completely 100% diabolical to see our homeless on the streets defending each other. They've no one else to defend them, they've no one else to stand up for them. They're talking about health and they're talking about COVID. Trust me, you want to see some of the places I've picked people up from. Seriously. We have homeless on the street that I just watched there, so I did. Being able just to watch their wee boxes, make sure nobody touches their wee boxes. The wee boxes have been sitting in dirt, not for hours, days or weeks, but months. Hands that haven't even been washed, not in hours or from the last sneezed. Hands that haven't been washed in maybe days or weeks because they've nowhere to wash themselves, they've nowhere to hand sanitize, so they haven't, but they're just left just to fester on the street. That's the world that we live in, so it is, and that's exactly what the government wants from us all.
Should be the politicians on the streets.
As I told you, I did ask a few people, would it be okay if I actually stood up here today? Any of my youth that wouldn't feel, you know, like, Nicola, don't be saying this or don't be saying that there. It's very, very hard, because sometimes whenever we talk about different people, people can twig on and sort of think, oh God, is that her or him she's talking about? But anyhow, the work I do, from the 22nd of February this year, right up until the 14th of November, I work 24 hours. And when I say 24 hours, with not a minute to myself, I mean 24 hours. I was working from the 22nd of February this year, right up until the 14th of November, till I went home to my children for Christmas. I do not get paid. I refuse to take a wage, so I do. My husband's anniversary was actually on the 13th of October this year, and I took myself off to my little happy place, which is Carlingford. I actually thought for the first time in months I was actually going to be able to get a break by myself, but no. A few of my youth ended up in the hotel with me. They, which is okay. I'm okay with that, so I am. But I had a huge mass set up down in Carlingford for my husband's anniversary. People were saying to me, you know, like, you shouldn't be taking them with you, you know, you should be able, you know, to get a wee bit of time on your own. If people need me, I'm here, and I will stand up for them, and I will help them. In between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning, I think it was maybe about 20 to 4 in the morning, my phone rang. And I was sort of coming out of sleep whenever it died down, and as I went to pick the phone up to check to see was it an emergency, it rang again, and I answered it, and the wee voice says to me, hello love, is this dog? And I says, yes it is. He says, now I'm not talking about dog, you know, suicides for dogs. He says, I'm talking about, you know, like dog, or there's a suicide group, you know, called Dog for Humans. I laughed and I went, yeah. I says, that's us. I says, my name's Nicola. And the fella broke down and he started crying. And I says to him, take your time, take a wee breath, you know, gather yourself together. And I could see my youth waking up. I hope they're definitely listening to us, because they had a cheek. They were standing looking over at me going, you know, like, this is your husband's anniversary, you shouldn't be taking emergency calls. I shouldn't have my youth down in the hotel with me either, so I shouldn't have. But he took a few minutes and he started crying, and he says, are you seriously going to listen to me? I says, I'm seriously going to listen to you, and I'm seriously going to give you the time. That 47-year-old person had already made 3 phone calls before me to 3 of our 24-hour emergency NHS helplines, and he was told to get off the phone, and first thing in the morning, as soon as his GP opened up, to phone his GP and let them know he was suicidal. Now he's suicidal there and then, so he is. He was debating, should he phone me or should he just end his life? And I says to him, okay, just in your own time, take a breath and just tell me what exactly the problem is. And he started off by talking about he didn't want to end up like his best mate's son. And I says, okay, well, who is your best mate's son? He says, you wouldn't know, love. And I went, that's okay. And he was talking away, but several times he kept bringing up about his best mate's son, and he didn't want to end up in a box. And I says to him, can you tell me who your best mate is? And he says, you wouldn't know him, love, he's dead years, so he is. And I says, right, okay. And he continued on. And I says, right, okay, do you know what? I says, stop. I says, who is your best mate's? And he says, my best mate's dead donkey's years, love, you call him Joe O'Connor. I says, all right. I says, you actually call his son Eamon O'Connor. He says, do you know him? I says, I know them very well. He says, I don't believe you, love. He says, no, they're a wild small world. And he continued on talking. I told him I wasn't in Belfast. We put a wee plan in place to keep him safe, and as soon as I got back to Belfast I would meet up with him, I would assess him. But if he needed me within the meantime, and whenever he felt comfortable to get off the phone, that, you know, if he needed to ring me back again, I would be there. Before he got off the phone, he says to me, you don't mind me asking you a question, love? I went, no, go ahead. He says, you said you know Eamon and Joe really, really well. He says, can I just ask if you don't mind how you know them? I went, yeah, it's actually my husband and my son. And he says, you what? He says, sorry love, stop. He says, did you just tell me that I've just sat and cried down the phone for near an hour to someone that's about to go for a mass for the anniversary of her husband? I just sat and cried. I went, yes you did. And he says, oh my God, love. He says, listen to me. He says, get off the phone. He says, and be reassured one thing. I swore I am not going to do a thing to myself. He says, and I thank you very much for taking the phone call. I thank you very much for listening to me. It was no coincidence that this guy had actually phoned me and came through to me, so it wasn't. But if we're not all there to be able to open up and to be able to reach out, too often it's all about me, 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 me. Yeah. We all get filled into this swallow party, so we do of it's all about me. No, it's not about me. Every single person out there, your problems are my problems too. And it's only whenever we learn to stand up for each other and we come stronger together that we can actually start to fight things together, so we can. I can confirm to you, he is still alive, in regular contact with me. Not 100% just right yet, but working on it. What I do is I work a lot with domestic violence, abuse cases and rape cases, some historical abuse cases. We're trying to get people to actually get the courage to be able to go forward, carry through their statements and different things. So what I do is, if you're feeling, very vulnerable, or you don't want to be seen, or maybe you're nervous going out shopping, and I will take people outside Belfast. So I had 2 rape cases that I took outside Belfast to get their shopping. We went till Asda, no not Asda in Belfast, who do work very closely with my organisation, I must stress that. But I took them to Asda, down out actually past Derry, so I did. But I needed to go to the toilet. So I'm running up to the toilet and I'm coming down the escalators and I'm looking at these 2 girls' faces directly at me. I can see the fear and the panic in their faces, and I'm looking at them and I'm going, what is it? And they're shaking their head at me. And I went, are you okay? What's wrong with you? And they're shaking and they're panicking and they're freaking out. And then the next minute I see this nitwit with an intercom shouting all over the intercom in front of them. There is no exceptions whatsoever to not be wearing a mask. You must wear a mask at all times. Customers are now standing and starting to stare over at them. They're starting to hut and they're starting to tut at them. They're starting to judge them. They were going up the escalators, and as I was coming down the escalators, I just looked over at them and I went, yo, you, over to the side, I'll have a word with you now. I said, and by the way, see the rest of you can go and call management. You can get management up here right now. I took them to the side and I said to them, how dare you discriminate anyone? You do not know the reason why someone's not wearing a mask. You think because someone's walking in these shop able-bodied that they can just wear a mask. Well, let me tell you all something, and the police officers know it. Not to say there are many police officers that do work with me, so they do. And I take my hat off to many of them that work with me, so I do. Anyone that's prepared to stand beside me disabled, I ain't going to refuse them. People do not realise I do not stand against masks because I don't believe in COVID. That's your choice. It's my choice not to believe in it. I don't believe. The difference is, it is a crime to get someone to do what the first impact of a trauma does to them, okay? So you have to remember and you have to realise 90% of people that are raped, that are abused, or through domestic violence, the first impact is to put their hand over their face and their mouth. So 90% of people out there that don't want to wear a mask, don't want to be going around wearing labels. I've been raped, I've been abused, I'm a victim of domestic violence. Why should they? Why should they? We need to stand up and protect the people that live in fear, so we do. 90% of the young girls that I actually work with are petrified. Some of them will, they'll shake, they'll wear a scarf around them. They'll petrify it to the will. They'll try to wear a scarf to the will to be able to cover it up. And I'm sick of telling them, no, don't. You don't have to wear a mask, so you don't. I have a car worker that's actually left work because of dementia. Please remember and realise we do live in the north of Ireland. We live in the north of Ireland, where how many people have had their homes broke into by people wearing masks? How many people have had guns through in their face by people wearing masks? They're petrified of it, so they are. Which brings us to the gobstopper. The part of the world where it was illegal to wear a mask is now legal. We live in the north of Ireland. Mad, but there you go. The one thing that ripped us apart is now bringing us back together again. So the big question is, do we have a pandemic? And please keep it black and white, because this is the reason we're all standing here. Do we have a pandemic? No! Well, I'm actually was about to answer that for you, so. What I'm going to do for the first time in history, I'm going to take away all the science, and I'm going to take away all the medicine, which they're still busy arguing. The people you need to fight your case is psychologists, believe it or not. Medicine and science have been arguing from the universe started. They're going to continue to argue over it, okay? Psychology, which is what I am trained in, I'm also trained medically too. Psychology is our human bodies, okay? And that's how we actually work. You can't change that, so you can't. And you can't argue. If you go to the courts, the biggest cases that are going to be won in court are not going to be due to science or due to medicine, they're going to be due to psychology. Because the one thing we can predict how every single one of your bodies all work. What happens with a trauma? The person goes straight into fight or flight mode, which is all done 2 years ago, over buying stock. All the ball rules you could get. So, let's keep it really black and white as to the reason you all want the answers. Pandemic of a disease occurring over a wide area and affecting an extremely high proportion of the population. An attack of a pandemic disease. Panic. A sudden overpowering feeling of fear or feeling or cause to feel panic. 2 years later, there shouldn't really be anyone left on Earth. Considering it was that bad, remember there was hundreds of thousands died in days, not weeks, months or years. Where did they all go? Where's the mass graves? Of all those loved ones, years later, not one commemoration, not one commemoration, no wall of names. Not talking about an incident, we're talking about the biggest trauma in life. It's one trauma to lose a loved one in your life. It's a completely different one to be threatened that the world is going to end. You have to remember, and you have to take into account with the psychology. You weren't told it was a wee pandemic of something where you need a wee jab. You were told the world was going to end. This pandemic was that bad and that severe that if we all didn't get vaccinated, we were all going to die. That's a huge trauma to your system, so it is. What you need to wake up and take heed is, if we're all still alive, we haven't had this pandemic. Why?
And no vaccine, Ellen!
To the answer for what you actually need with the numbers of deaths, I'm going to ask every single person here. It's very, very easy, the answer, so it is. If you all go to your own parishes and ask for the number of deaths that occurred in each parish during the last 2 years, count the numbers up and work out where all those missing bodies all went to. I'll tell you exactly where they're going to. It's a cover up for the missing children, so it is, that are on an island that's not even registered on this planet for sick, perverted reasons. I'm just about to come to the end. I will ask you to check the numbers out and let's see if they all add up. The biggest problem that we have here is a war of our souls, and that's exactly what the government want. And that's why I'll stress very important. It's very, very important that we don't get mad, we don't get angry, and we don't express anger out for the pure and simple reason. That's what the government want. The government wants you all divided. They want you all separated. Whenever we get stronger and we stand together, we can fight together. So we can't. It's very, very important that we all stand together. So it is, and we fight together. So it is. And I love each and every single one of you.
Well, that was fantastic. Brilliant. Very moving, but very important. So, by way of introduction, my name is Jonathan Weissman. My website is alltherisks.com. For the last few months, I've dedicated all my spare time to exposing all the risks of these experimental genetic vaccines that the government won't tell us. I'm also a follower of Jesus Christ. Today, big cheer. Today, I want to touch two very quick questions. Number one, what is on the table and where are we? Why are we out here? Number two, as we stand on the precipice of a new year and we look to 2022, where are things heading? What predictions can we make if nothing changes? And what action must we take now, today, with no delay? Question number one, what is on the table? So-called vaccine passports. What is it? An affront on our human dignity, liberty, and everything that's sacred. It is nothing other than a disrespect. We have made our choices. No deal for many of us. We will not take it now nor ever. Very simple. So, this thing, whatever you call it, has no right to be used against the civilian population minding their lawful, peaceful civilian business. This doesn't belong in any civilized democracy. But let me be very clear. We will never respect it. We will never use it. We will always openly ridicule the state when they push this on us today, every day to the dawn. Now, maybe someone's come in and they have a different opinion. They want to say vaccine passport, the greatest thing since sliced bread. Okay, come on then. Einstein thought experiment. Come with me. Imagine there's no resistance and everybody gives in. Everybody's on a system now, the entire country, the entire world. Well, where's your poet? Where's your prophet? Where's your free thinker? Where's your rebel? Where's your human spirit? What have you got left? Nothing but worldwide communism. Once again, no deal. All right, second question. Where are things heading in 2022? First thing, this system is entirely self-perpetuating through a faulty PCR test with a massively high false positive rate, lateral flow test, you name it. You will have more cases, I can predict, every single day with these tests. People keep testing and they're going to increase the pressure, the mandates on the job, the vaccine passport. At the end of the day, all you will have is more cases. So if that's the metric, does COVID exist? Well, if that's how we're defining it, yes, every single day. And to those who would question me, I can prove it. I can work with a statistician and we will prove it. If every single person took these jabs every day, once a month, you would never stop this virus. If you don't believe me, debate me. Second thing, these kind of experimental genetic vaccines do not stop infection and transmission, will only lead to more infectious and transmissible strains. This is known from quasi-species theory. Ultimately, I do not rule out that this virus would be able to transmit outdoors. Doesn't matter if you wear 3 masks, 4 masks, or 12 masks, it would still transmit. Go back and look at all the strains, from the original Wuhan to the Alpha to the Delta to the Omicron. It's the same story. This is entirely predictable. Everybody knows it. Why do the government and Pfizer and all of them play the stupid card? Because they think none of us do any reading. Well, I get this. We do read. We know what's going on. And now it gets very serious. This is my next prediction we've got to watch out for in 2022. They're going to massively expand this program in the following ways. More boosters, more regularly. So if you've been jabbed, if I was you, I'd start thinking about getting off the train now before you take any more of this stuff. You do not want more P53, BRAC1-2 cancer tumor suppressor protein suppressed. Do not want an increase in autoimmunity, besides all the fatal short-term thrombotic events and medium-term microthrombotic events. I've got one idea for the MHRA. If this is so transparent, mandatory, everyone wants to make everything mandatory D-dimer testing for everyone who's been vaccinated. We will prove the harm it causes. Next thing they're going to do, they're going to take it down the age ranges. This is why I'm so public in everything I do. We cannot let this go down. Pfizer got their trials, the 3rd dose, for 6 months to 5 years. This is a disgrace. No, this cannot happen. We will not allow it. Third way they're going to expand it. This is very upsetting when you know the history of the world and what's been done across the world in continents like Africa and Asia. We are going to have people from this land, from the UK, Ireland, whatever, and America, they're going to try and suggest and evangelize to Africa and Asia that their people and their children should take it. When you know the history of what these lands have been through, that should be very upsetting. This is why I'm so combative. No, I will force anyone to debate me. This is a disgrace, and we cannot put this onto all these countries. WHO and Gavi, they have a task force, right, called COVAX. They say by midpoint next year, 70% of the world will be vaccinated. That is because they're going to use the lockdown like an economic sledgehammer, I believe, to try and force these countries to take it. This is, once again, a disgrace. And also, as we increase the infectivity, I believe it's more likely to start infecting more animals. We know that cats, deers, mink, rabbits can all be infected. So watch out, I think they're coming for the pets next. All right, and what about this? They keep suppressing the antivirals. Where is our early antiviral intervention? Where's the iodine nasal spray? Where's the mouthwash? Again, they think we never read, we don't know what RNA virus is. It's just fraud. Listen, if we had McBride and Swan here, 2 of them, who's going to win that debate? Us the people or them? No chance. We'll win any debate. Hey, I've got an idea, Robert Swan. If you want to keep the job, how about you have a debate first, hey? If you win the debate, you keep your job. All right, and last before I conclude. Very worrying. I believe we could well see in 2022 a dramatic evolution of the virus, because what's going to happen is it's going to try and evade the increasingly hostile conditions that we keep giving it through these vaccines. If we could see something along the lines of what we had with dengue fever, which is the increased infection of cells through the Fc gamma receptors. This is known from dengue fever. You go in literature, I quote in my risk assessment, I cover it in massive detail. Everybody knows, and all the research is saying, do not do this, there's a big risk. If this happens, imagine the level of fear and attempt to bring in compliance if people who've had this thing are now more susceptible to disease due to antibody-dependent enhancement, and secondly, attempts to revaccinate fail due to original antigenic sin. And I expose the lies of SAGE when they say that won't happen because there's been no evidence of it. Well, in my risk assessment, I cite evidence of OAS from both previous coronaviruses and influenza. So please don't take SAGE's word as gospel. So very, very worrying if that happens. Finally, as I conclude, I like to make little posters sometimes. Everything I'm doing is so serious. Risk assessments, talking, letters, all this serious stuff. In fact, before that, on masks. So Charlene Higgins, Tony Mann and I, we put out a letter and we said this very, very clearly, because I heard the last speech, very important. No civic, no moral responsibility to abide by whatever this regulation is. Even Naomi Long, she's justice minister, she don't know what it is. So no civic, no moral responsibility. We go about our business as usual, don't regard it, doesn't mean anything. I'm not paying the fines either. Ignore it. All right. 3 thoughts to finish with. Number 1, we have to stem the bleeding now. Speaking up tomorrow is too late. 2, let not the children suffer for the madness of the adults. 3, this is for the Christians. Jesus or COVID? Which God do you serve? Which God do you serve? Amen. Praise God. Thank you very much. Take care.
Hello, Belfast. Isn't it great to be alive? The insanity that we've seen and experienced over the last 2 years. They told us it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve, where people are being double masked, they're being jabbed the first time, the second time, the third time, they're doing contact tracing, they're downloading these apps, and what has happened? It's exploded into insanity. The Delta variant is the vaccinated people shedding over the people that haven't been vaccinated, and we're getting poisoned by the debris that the other people that are vaccinated are spewing over us. I used to travel a lot, all over the world, and at one stage I was on 85 planes and helicopters in about 15 months. I regularly did things like work 20-hour days for 8 days in a row, fly back home here for 2 or 3 days, and I never got sick once in those 10 years. And about 3 or 4 weeks ago I ended up getting infected with something that was completely unnatural. I didn't even feel unwell, it just ended up, I don't know if it was a virus or whatever it was, but I'll tell you, that was not natural. That was some mutant, genetically modified something to come out of somebody's lab. At the start, I actually believed there was no such thing as coronavirus. And then I actually now realise or believe that they manufactured this in a laboratory. I don't know if it was released deliberately or accidentally, but when people are funding gain of function research to make something more aggressive, more virulent, like, that's only done by people that are psychopaths or have an agenda. We will not tolerate their inhumanity towards us anymore. These people are absolutely obsessed and driven by power and money. When Boris Johnson took $6 billion from Bill Gates, we knew we'd been sold out. Bill Gates is dressed up as a philanthropist, and that guy, his father was an eugenicist, and that guy in his TED talk was talking about how we get rid of the population by vaccinating people. And he's on mainstream media saying, oh, the vaccine return was a 20-to-1 return with such glee in his eyes. This guy is absolutely obsessed and has got marketing gurus to make him look like he's a philanthropist when he's an eugenist, and he wants the population reduced, and we're not having it. This system is absolutely broken. Even the VERS reporting system. My father, earlier this year, was trying to ring to get an appointment with a doctor. He rang over 100 times before he got through. Now, the VERS reporting system, that reports the adverse reactions from vaccines, and also in the UK, it's the MHRA, the Medical Health Regulatory Authority, absolute corrupt and rotten to the core. This is their system, and they make it virtually impossible for any doctor. Who here knows a doctor that's an extra 20 minutes to try and fill in an adverse reaction about a vaccine? It's never going to happen by design. The system is absolutely broken, it's corrupted, it's rotten to the core. And I just want to read something. I wrote this before I was speaking. I wrote a book a lot of years ago and I wrote something on the back of a book. It's about 5 or 6 years old, but it's so relevant today, and it'll take me a few minutes, but I'd just like to read it out to you to see where we are now and what I saw back then. So I just write, warning, guarantee. This book contains honest and accurate material which a truly free and responsible society would neither fear nor try to suppress. The reality is that we live on a planet that's been horribly infected with an incurable case of world domination fever, and where corporations, politicians and government officials will do almost anything to gain power or maintain control, regardless of its incredibly detrimental effect on our society, the environment, the planet and its people. This is because our totally corrupt and rotten to the core government institutions, who are in bed with and owned by the big pharma cartel, have made it law that no one is allowed to practice healing, health and healing, unless it's sanctioned by allopathic or conventional medicine. This is in contrast to over 100 other modalities of healing that have nothing to do with allopathy, toxic pharmaceutical drugs. This is insanity. It's totally unethical, immoral, and a complete violation of our sovereign freedom and human rights. Big Pharma has a multi-trillion-dollar incentive to suppress and eradicate non-patentable, holistic alternatives, and they are unrelenting in their sadistic persecution of anyone who tries to help people heal naturally. The modern medical religion has become an incredibly dangerous and sinister cabal of psychopathic dictators who have become virtually unaccountable for their crimes. Last paragraph. We have also been dumbed down by weaponized food systems. Our educational institutions force our children down the conformity funnel, demanding compliance or obedience, using the tools of fear, propaganda and manipulation. For anyone that goes to college or university, these people usually end up being completely buried up to their bollocks in debt, so that they spend much of the rest of their working life in slavery trying to pay it off. It's time to awaken from the trance and reclaim our innate power. It's time to awaken from the trance and reclaim our innate power. To the expansion of your consciousness and outstanding health and vitality, Justin Zalewski. Now, the thing is, this whole system has been completely corrupted by design. Pharmaceutical companies get to write the laws under which they live. I think it was 1973, Ronald Reagan signed into law that the vaccine companies wouldn't have to pay any damages if anybody got injured. Yet the thing is, there's been tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that have been injured throughout the world. They get paid out in vaccine courts, and they're not allowed to disclose, or they have to sign a gag clause to get payment. This system is broken, it's fundamentally flawed, it's corrupted, it's been hijacked, and any time you want to figure out who's running the show, always follow the money. The last time I read, Pfizer's last quarterly profits were $21 billion. That is immoral, that is criminal, that somebody would profit so incredibly if we really did have a pandemic. This is a pandemic of epic proportions. This is a battle for our consciousness. This is where they want to close our consciousness down with these vaccines. In 1917, Rudolf Steiner, many of you may know of Rudolf Steiner. This guy was so connected, and David Wolf, a guy who's in the superfoods world, said an architect like Rudolf Steiner only comes along every 500 to 1,000 years. And he said in 1917 that they've used vaccines to close us down. And this is not a battle over a virus, this is a battle over our consciousness. The people are waking up. They tried to have a great reset, and what they've triggered is a great awakening. They want to divide and conquer us, because when we're isolated and on our own, we're easily ambushed. Look at the people around us from so many different walks of life, so many cultures, so many religious beliefs or lack of religion, and look, feel the sense of community, the sense of connectivity with us all. feel the consciousness of the people here. We're all here in unity. We know something's wrong. We may not know all the answers, but we know there's something very fundamentally wrong. When there's people on the NHS are waiting for 5 years to even get a consultation for their problem, and all of a sudden the government runs out and wants to help us with this forced vaccine, not a chance. And they want for us to fight, to make noise, to be destructive. The solution to this is peaceful non-compliance. Don't follow the rules. Don't comply with any of it. I will never have done and never will use a squirt of hand sanitizer or a mask under any circumstances ever. And this is the thing. My father was Polish. And I grew up, and at times I ended up going to Poland, which was a communist country. Now, in a communist country, I don't know if anybody's been there in full-blown communism, but the people have nothing, and they are totally and utterly controlled. And this may look like a democratic society, but when you're not allowed to speak your voice and have a difference of opinion, it's communism dressed up as medical fascism. It's our bodies, and we choose to put what we want into our bodies. And if somebody wants to go and get vaccinated, that's their choice. We support that freely if they want to do that. But we choose what goes into our body. We are our own highest authority, and we have to self-authorize. We have to self-validate, because we are sovereign, human, living beings. Look at all the signs, all the different signs from so many different walks of life. Look at what everybody's saying. There's a common theme where people know there's something wrong. They feel so connected. They realise that we're being corralled, harassed, intimidated, abused. I even was walking past here, and up at the top of the street, is it Aunt Annie's proof? You've got ID, you've all this stuff. What insanity! And this is the thing. It is medical apartheid, and it's just, they will never get us to take their vaccine under any circumstances, but this is what they are doing. They're trying to harass, intimidate. They're never going to hold you down and stick a needle in your arm, because that is an absolute direct violation of the Nuremberg Code, and there will be people prosecuted for what they've done through this whole pandemic. But this is the thing. I've heard people saying they started all this stuff in work, they're going to throw us out, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. That's okay. Don't leave your job. Make them sack you and then go after them for discrimination. The world is in chaos, and when the dust settles, we now have so much data. We are taking notes. We know who's done what, and there's so much in social media. All the evidence is captured. There will be nowhere for these people to hide. And people that said, I was only doing my job, is not an excuse that's going to save your ass. So this is the thing. Just any time anybody tries to force you to do anything, just ask them under what specific law, because this is the thing. Most people just comply because somebody says it's a law. Go and look it up and find out, and you'll find out there's more holes in it than there is in a tea bag. The whole system is designed and runs on fear, manipulation, control, coercion, and the threat of whatever. But this, in these restaurants, they're actually doing you a favour, seriously. And if we have to avoid restaurants for 1 or 2 years, brilliant. Do you know why? Because all the fully vaccinated people that are shedding all over each other, that's where they are. I don't want to be in any of those places. I am delighted to be away from them. Right, that's okay. Right, so just closing here. If anybody wants a copy of this book, you can go to my website, thrivinginaToxicWorld.com. The ebook, I'm going to give you a code now. It sells for $9.99 on the website. Put in the code OZ2020 for Australia, OZ2020, and you can download it for free. Thanks for listening. I'm Justin Zalewski.
Guys, I'm going to wrap it up here, but before I go, over the past couple of weeks I've been getting a lot of abuse from people that are apparently in the same movement as ourselves. Yeah, it starts with, if I had the police around the door, I'd be getting a wee bit of hassle there, right? Yeah, getting a bit of abuse. Oh, you shouldn't be keeping it to 60 minutes, you shouldn't be doing that, you're paid opposition and all that crap. I've been doing this for 2 years and proud to stand wherever you want me. Over the past couple of days, it's took a really bad toll on me. I've a new baby there this week, and it has been tough mentally. And see, just to come here today and see so many of you standing there, it makes it worthwhile. Every single bit of stress is worth it. We've got this far, we've got our movement growing, and it's not going to stop until this stops. We're going to take back our rights and our freedoms. We're going to come here as often as it takes until we get our way. We're not stopping. Before I go, there is quite a few people that have come on board recently that have helped us. There's so many of them, including Free to Dance here. These guys have supplied the sound and the speakers and all from the start to put me in touch with people to get the stage and all. So, a massive respect to them. They didn't have to do it. They're doing this out of their own pocket, in their own time, and they're here every time. Unsung heroes in my eyes. Give a big round of applause for Ben, please. Look guys, they're going to see us out with a quick tune here. I'm going to go get back to my family. There'll be posts going up very soon with what's going on going forward. I want you all to go home and get hammered. And have the best of the best New Year's. We'll make it ourselves. So well, thank you all very, very much. Love you all. Guys, anybody that's from Lisburn at 10 PM, Wallace Park, and Sunday, this man's looking to meet him there, so that's anybody from Lisburn. That's me done again, and thank you all.
9 a.m.,
9 a.m., sorry, 9 a.m, I'm a flank. These guys are going to share it with you.
Fellow ravers, we have gathered together in unity. In 2020, a pandemic fell upon us. We were locked away from everything we have known in order to stay at home. I stand among you, my brothers and sisters.
Mic check, testing!
We shall rise up against a flawed system, and we say, no more. We are here to make a point.
One crew, run through the dance, make some noise! Give it up for your DJ, Lee Hunter!
Please make some noise and give it up for your DJ, Lee Hanna.
One crew, get ready!
Why can't this moment last forevermore? Tonight eternity's an open door. No, don't never stop doing the things you do. Don't go. Every breath I take, I'm breathing you. You fly. From now on,
That's it. No, one, two. That's us, Belfast. I'm going home. I wish us all a happy new year. Dare I say, I'll see you back here in 2 weeks, yeah? Let's do this. Happy New Year, guys. Much love and respect for you all for coming down here and making it possible. Thank you. See you in 2 weeks.
Happy New Year! Thank you!